All right, today we're cracking open the case file on one of the most wild and just plain confusing corporate takeovers in recent memory. We're talking about a $44 billion deal that left pretty much everyone asking one simple question.
What is X? I mean, really, is it still the Twitter we all knew? Or is it something completely different? You know, this question is the real heart of our investigation today. It's a puzzle that has been baffling users, advertisers, and investors from the moment that little blue bird disappeared for good. So, the first clues? They're actually hiding in plain sight. I mean, is X a social media site? Well, yeah, but it's also developing a pretty controversial AI called Grok, it's launching a video streaming app, and it's building a payment system. Now, on the surface, it all feels a bit chaotic, right? Almost random. But what if all these seemingly disconnected pieces are actually part of a much, much bigger puzzle?
To really understand what's happening now, we have to rewind the tape. We've got to go all the way back to the beginning of the takeover. And you know, like any good mystery, there's a story they want you to believe, and then there's the evidence that points to the real motive.
And here we have Exhibit A, the official story. We were all told this was some noble crusade for free speech, right? A mission to save civilization itself by building this perfect digital town square. It's a powerful story, it's idealistic. But when you stop listening and you start to follow the money, a very different picture starts to emerge.
Yeah, the paper trail tells a completely different story. A story that didn't just begin with a tweet, but with a dot-com dream from over 20 years ago. The clues, it turns out, were there all along, just hiding in plain sight for anyone who was willing to look.
The first phase of this takeover, honestly, it looked like pure chaos. It was fast, it was brutal, and from the outside, it looked like a $44 billion asset was being intentionally taken apart piece by piece. The big question is, was this just demolition, or was it a very deliberate, very painful renovation?
Just try to wrap your head around this. By May of 2023, over 80% of the workforce was just gone. You don't make a cut that deep if you're just trimming the fat. No way. This was more like a controlled demolition of the entire company's culture, its memory, and its ability to even function.
And the financial fallout? Oh, it was immediate, and it was catastrophic. Revenue just plummeted by an initial 40%. Advertisers ran for the hills, totally spooked about the platform's stability. And this wasn't just some side effect, it was a direct consequence. So here's the billion-dollar question. Why would anyone willingly set fire to their own money machine? You know, maybe the most poetic piece of evidence from this whole era is the strange case of Jack Dorsey's very first tweet. It really became a symbol for the entire old Twitter ecosystem, its culture, its history, and all of its perceived value.
So as an NFT, that first tweet sold for an absolutely incredible $2.9 million. Today, it's worth less than $4. The value of the old Twitter, both financially and culturally, wasn't just ignored, it feels like it was systematically erased.
Okay, this is where the case just breaks wide open. All the chaos, the firings, the rebranding, it all starts to make a weird kind of sense when you finally uncover the original blueprint. A blueprint that connects the X of today to the ghost of a startup from way back in 1999. Here it is. This is the key that unlocks the entire mystery. The name X isn't new at all. Back in 1999, Elon Musk co-founded an online bank called X.com. It eventually merged with a rival and became the PayPal we all know today. But he never let go of that original name, that original vision. And get this, in 2017, years before the Twitter takeover was even a whisper, he quietly bought back the X.com domain. This wasn't a rebrand, it was a resurrection. The vision for that original X.com was to build an everything app, a single place for all your communication, your shopping, your finances. I mean, think about apps like WeChat in China, where you can do everything from messaging friends to paying your bills. That model is worth hundreds of billions. And this idea, this digital Swiss Army knife, has been his obsession for over 2 decades. The chaos we all saw? That wasn't the plan going off the rails. It was just step one.
So, with that original blueprint in hand, the modern strategy becomes crystal clear. First, you buy a platform that already has a massive built-in global audience. Step 2, you strip it down to the studs. You get rid of everything that doesn't fit the new vision. Then you start building. You integrate payments, you layer on AI and video, and piece by piece, you build that everything app you first dreamed of back in 1999.
But, you know,
Understanding the plan is one thing, actually pulling it off is another. Trying to rebuild a company from the ground up while you're carrying a $44 billion price tag? Wow, that's a monumental gamble. So now, our investigation has to turn to the most critical question of all. Can this grand vision survive the harsh reality of the balance sheet?
So let's follow the money. Before the acquisition, back in the second quarter of 2022, Twitter was pulling in about $1.18 billion. Fast forward to that same quarter 1 year later, and that number has cratered to around $707 million. That's the financial price of that demolition phase. And that massive gap is the hole they now need to dig themselves out of.
You know, the case file for X's future is a real study in contrasts. On one side, you've got this huge global user base, a visionary leader with a powerful brand, and the ability to move at lightning speed. But on the other side, there's crippling debt, deep distrust from advertisers, really fierce competition, and growing scrutiny from regulators, especially over in Europe.
And that competition is no joke. Meta's rival app, Threads, now has 141 million people using it on their phones every single day. X isn't rebuilding in a vacuum here. It's fighting a well-funded, highly motivated competitor for every single user and every single advertising dollar. So, after reviewing all the evidence, we finally arrive at the final verdict. We've seen the motive, we've seen the method, and we've seen the incredibly high stakes. But the final judgment on whether this whole thing was an act of genius or an act of folly, well, that's still being written.
When you lay out all the evidence, it really points to two completely different conclusions. The case for genius says this is a bold, visionary attempt to finally build the everything app that the Western world has never really had. But the case for folly argues this is the world's most expensive vanity project, one that has absolutely incinerated a globally recognized brand for a dream that might never, ever become profitable.
So ultimately, all the evidence leads us to one last question. Is what we're all witnessing the painful, messy birth of the next digital frontier? Or are we just watching the slow-motion collapse of a $44 billion cautionary tale? The final verdict is yours to decide.